The Legend of Zelda has been one of my favorite game series for most of my life. I love everything about the series, from its gameplay and lore to its music and visuals. The Zelda series are adventure games where you journey through different dungeons and terrains, acquiring various items, usually including a boomerang, bow, and bombs. But most importantly, you have your faithful sword and shield. As your collection of items grows, you use them to make progress, and you can choose which ones you favor in combat. The first Zelda game was released in 1986 for Famicom. The Legend of Zelda completely leaves you to your own devices. You must discover your path and how to progress forward through the overworld in a series of dungeons. The gameplay and learning about the world are challenging but satisfying. One feature I like about Zelda is the world building and implied lore, where some parts of the story are clearly stated, others are left open to interpretation. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link is considered the outlier of the series, but I think it is a strong game in its own right, blending an RPG overworld with action platforming. Zelda 2 also leaves you without much direction or instructions, and you must blaze your own trail. Despite owning a Nintendo Entertainment System, I never owned either of these first two games. As the Zelda series moved to 3D with the N64, I was blown away by how the game looked, an open world to explore. I never owned an N64 and wouldn't play these games until much later, when they were re-released for GameCube. To fill the void, I dove into the Game Boy versions of Zelda, finally playing through great games like A Link to the Past and Oracle of Seasons. The latter allowed a choice of 3 different animal companions, which completely changed the game and its puzzles. It also has an equipable ring appraisal system for additional character customization. Oracle of Seasons has a sister game, Oracle of Ages, with many similar characters. If you play both games in tandem, you are able to unlock some hidden features. Finally, around 2004, I acquired a GameCube and the Zelda Collector's Edition, which included Zelda 1, 2, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. I was finally able to thoroughly play through the 3D Zeldas. These action games were unlike the turn-based RPG and strategy games that I usually played. I loved the thrill of traveling across Hyrule, a vibrant world with elemental sprites and different species like the Zora and Goron living together. The games were just as fun as I had imagined when I first saw glimpses of them years earlier. Ocarina of Time has a great story and compelling characters. The addition of the musical elements and Ocarina were particularly enjoyable, as you learn songs that can affect the world around you. The game also includes at least one very memorable reveal. The Ocarina of Time is challenging, but is much easier to complete than its successor. Majora's Mask is a unique game with a time loop feature. You must plan your path and interactions, becoming familiar with every character and corner of the map. There is even a secret ending that you can unlock by acquiring all of the game's masks. I think Majora's Mask remains my favorite of the Zelda series by a slim margin. Perhaps this is because of the psychology of masks popularized by Carl Jung, or because of Majora's dark mood. I enjoy seeing how the different games interpret the Zelda story. It feels like retellings of a myth, different versions of the same story being passed down with minor changes. One through line of all Zelda games is that of puzzles. To be successful in the game, you not only have to master combat, but understand the various interactions between the items and the overworld in order to solve a variety of puzzles. These might range from lighting torches to pushing around blocks to more complicated fetch quests for hidden weapons. Another of my favorites in the series is Wind Waker, a GameCube classic with a real feeling of space and scale, where you sail the sea in a talking boat. One of my favorite parts of Wind Waker is how you can pick up enemy weapons, allowing you options outside of your usual inventory. The visual style of Wind Waker is endearing and has aged particularly well. As more and more games were released, I fell behind and have not played much of the newer games like Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is widely popular and looks like a return to the open world of Ocarina, upgraded with increased technological and graphical capabilities. I look forward to digging into it. I highly recommend playing the Zelda series. With so many excellent games to choose from, there's really something for everyone. Thank you for listening.